Hey, what's good, everybody? I'd like to welcome you all back to another episode of the Boombox Guru channel. So, this episode, we're doing another vinyl update. This is actually vinyl update number 5. And as the title says, I've managed to accumulate more Prince records on vinyl. So, without further ado, let's get into the video. This won't be an overly long video because there's only 3 records that I have that I'm going to show you. So, we're going to get right into this video. So, the first one I want to show you is Dirty Mind. This is Prince's third studio album, released in 1980. Now, I already own a vinyl copy of Dirty Mind that I got. I think it was either earlier this year or it might have been towards the end of last year. I bought it from Lunchbox Records. But the difference is that this particular record is an OG pressing from 1980. The last one that I showed was actually a reissue that came out in 2021. And I almost passed up on purchasing this one because I was thinking, well, I do already own it, already own the reissue version. But another part of me was like, hey, man, this is a OG pressing. How often are you going to come across a OG pressing of this record? So I went ahead and bought it, and it doesn't hurt to have more than one copy of an album. I've seen vinyl collectors have 10 to 15 different versions of the same album. I'm not that much of a collector, but I'm just saying that's pretty lightweight compared to what I've seen most people do. But yeah, man, I couldn't pass this up. This is one of my favorite Prince albums. I always have said that this is the record where Prince as an artist really came into his own. And Wikipedia even stated that this record helped to define his career for the remainder of the 1980s. You know what I'm saying? It really represented a new era for Prince. It was the beginning of a new era for Prince with this record. Just a great record. Very interesting mix of funk and like punk. Like this album has often been referred to as like punk funk because it's still funky, but then there's this really punk rock element to the whole sound as well as the quality of the music. I mean, these songs were recorded in Prince's home studio, and they were actually released in the demo versions. He didn't go back into the studio or anything and re-record the songs because he actually didn't have the budget to do that. He had actually blew his budget on his first 2 records, on the production of his first 2 albums. So he really had little to no budget when he recorded this album, which is why it has so much of a DIY, very raw and stripped down sound, which gives it more of that punk aesthetic. Not to mention the whole particular era that Prince, his image during this whole particular era, the whole rude boy era of him. It's just a really great record. It's only like 30 some minutes long. It's a relatively short record, but it's just such a great record, man. And if you've never listened to Dirty Mind, highly urge you to go check it out because it's one of his greatest albums. It was critically acclaimed, so he got a lot of critical acclaim from this record. It didn't quite push him over to into the mainstream because at this point Prince was still at cult status, and of course, this being one of Prince's most, I would say, explicit records, very shocking of the time in 1980. If you listen to some of the songs like Head and Sister and so forth, very shocking, very sexually explicit. So it didn't really bring him over to that mainstream level. If anything, it kind of sort of kept him right there at the cusp of it, as well as still being sort of like an underground kind of artist. But still one of his greatest records that that is still that is still cherished to this day, man. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad to have 2 copies of this album, let alone just one. But yeah, great record. I'm not gonna show you guys anything because there's really not much difference. The reissue pretty much stays kind of true to what the OG version has. So it's pretty much the same. So I'm not gonna show you guys that, but yeah, proud to have an OG copy of this in my collection. All right, so this next album, this was I'm gonna tell you like this. When I came across this at the bookstore, because all 3 of the records that I'm gonna show you, I all got them at the same place at Got Books. They have a vinyl section, a really cool, nice vinyl section set up at their place. And when I saw this record, man, my heart actually kind of skipped a beat, man, because this one I've been trying to find for a long time. Even when Prince was alive, this was a record that I always was hoping that I would come across. and I never did. I mean, I would see copies of it online, but they tended to be relatively expensive, at least the OG copies. And I also found the reissue copy on Lunchbox Records that I've been keeping my eye on for some time. But man, when I was searching through the vinyl section and I came across this, I like my heart just jumped with excitement, man. Cause this is one of my favorite Prince albums as well. This is one that I actually grew up with. You know, like my dad actually owned this on cassette tape, so I used to listen to it quite often. He also used to have the record, but by the time I came along, he didn't have the record no more. He told me that he had to sell it for whatever reasons back in the day. But this album that I'm going to show you right now, this is Controversy, released in 1981. But man, I was really excited to find this one on vinyl because I've been wanting this one on vinyl for so long. But yeah, this is another one of my favorite Prince albums, man. Very funky, very funky. He was still kind of, it was still kind of in that kind of, he was still kind of in that kind of punk funk phase at this time, or when he put out this album. But this was probably his. I would say Controversy was Prince's first really overtly political record. I mean, Dirty Mind contained Prince's first political song, which was Party Up. But this one, he really tackled a lot of social commentary topics a lot more on this record. You know, the Cold War was going on around this time, so there's songs like Ronnie Talked to Russia that discuss that. You know, then the title track Controversy, not I wouldn't say necessarily political, but you know, it focuses on all the controversy that was surrounding Prince at the time. You know, people questioning was he a man or a woman, trying to figure out his sexuality, and people just having so many kinds of questions about who Prince was, which is something that Prince he always kind of liked it, having that mystery around him of who he really was and things of that nature. He always kind of liked it that, but the song kind of tackles that. You know, then it also has one of Prince's best ballads, greatest ballads, called "Do Me Baby." You know what I'm saying? That's one of his best ballads of all time right there. Which, you know, I think sometimes that song gets a little bit underrated, but that's a really great song. I know it's still a mainstay on like urban, contemporary radio. But I really enjoy this record, man. Probably one of my favorite eras of Prince right here. I just really dig it, man. It's just an awesome record. The only downside about this album, the original versions used to come with a poster of Prince, like in the shower. Which I'm not saying that I wanted that picture or anything. It's just that when you find these albums, you're kind of hoping that everything that was originally included with it was still intact, but that wasn't in there. So I guess whoever had it back in the day, they must have took that picture out and put it up on their wall or something. But it would just been cool if everything was still included, you know, with this being an OG pressing. But I thought I would at least show this right here where the vinyl sleeve is really cool. I thought the vinyl sleeve was really cool. I'm guessing this is an original vinyl sleeve, but the vinyl sleeve is like plastic with like the Warner Brothers Records logo all over it. I thought that was really cool. Hope y'all can see that. But yeah, that has the Warner Brothers Records logo all over it. I thought that was a really cool vinyl sleeve, so I did want to show that. But yeah, man, this is just really this is really awesome for me to finally own this record because I've wanted it for so many years on vinyl, and you know, I was fortunate enough to finally come across it, man. And so very excited to have this one. Just trying to get this put back in here right quick, but yeah, Controversy, man, great record. If you've never heard it, definitely go check it out. Definitely one of his best records. Favorite of mine. I'm hoping that one day that the estate will possibly like remaster and reissue that album on CD, because that record is so funky, man. Like the bass lines on that record, the bass lines on that record are so hard, man. It's so raw that, man, I know that if it had a good remaster, that song would just knock so good. These songs, especially the title track Controversy, I mean, that is just an all right kind of gritty funk number. I just wish that the state would get around to like remastering those albums on CD, because those songs would go hard. They would knock so hard in the car with a nice system because of those wicked bass lines on here. But yeah, definitely an album worth checking out, man. One of his best in his early career. And this was pre Purple Rain, pre 1999. So Prince still hadn't crossed over into the mainstream at that point. He was still a cult artist who mainly had the streets and the clubs. As a lot of people have described it. A lot of people say that, Michael Jackson, while Michael Jackson had MTV and the radio, Prince had the streets and the clubs, and that's really the best like explanation, the best description you could give of Prince during this particular era. So this last one I'm going to show you, I've actually had this one a lot longer than the first two I showed you. The first two I bought them on the same day. This one I came across it probably earlier in the year when I went to Got Books, and quite frankly, those first two records might have been within that vinyl section then, but I didn't really search that day because I just came across this one. They had this one up on display, and I instantly just grabbed it. Like, oh man, I gotta have this. So this next one is Parade by Prince and the Revolution, released in 1986. Yeah, I also own this on CD. I've had the CD for years. I probably had the CD for like 15, probably about 15, 16 years. I bought it at Best Buy like years ago. But yeah, man, Prince and the Revolution, Parade. The final album, unfortunately, with Prince and the Revolution. He disbanded the Revolution not long after the tour for this album. But what a great record. Glad to have this on vinyl. As you can see, it's got like, you could like alternate between the covers. Actually, you have this one. This is the most, I think I would consider this to be the actual album cover. But then you also have this one right here too. And I'm gonna show you a little bit because this one has a little bit more with it. I think this is gatefold, ain't it? Yeah, this is a gatefold album. I don't know if my camera on my laptop can pick this up, but here's a gatefold, and that's all kinds of pictures of Prince and the Revolution. Let me try to hold it a little bit closer. So there's Wendy right there, and I'm trying to see brown mark up there from her. Now that's Dr. Fink up there above brown mark. Then you got Prince right there, and then there's Bobby Z and Lisa Coleman. There you go. And I think there's also the album sleeve has pictures too. Has more pictures as well. Like this is probably better. The album sleeve is probably better. Right here, yeah. You see them all. Like there's Prince right there. Prince again. There's Bobby Z. I think that's Wendy right there. I believe that's Wendy. I think that's Fink up there. And I believe that's Lisa. And that's another picture of Wendy. That's Prince again right here. Not sure who that is. Hold on. Oh, that's either Wendy. No, I think that's her twin sister. That might be her twin sister, Susanna. I think that's who that is. Yeah, I think that's her twin sister, Susanna. Susanna was actually Prince's girlfriend, fiance around this time. But yeah, just all kinds of little cool pictures of them during this era, man. And of course, Parade. I'm gonna talk to you guys a little bit while I put this stuff back up, but Parade was also the soundtrack to Prince's movie Under the Cherry Moon, which depending on who you are, some people like that movie, some people don't like it. It all depends. I think in recent years though, Under the Cherry Moon it's actually developed a bit of a cult status. I don't own the movie. I do. I probably should get the movie though. I probably should get the movie. I mean, I've seen it. I've seen the movie before. I've seen it years ago, like on cable, and then when Prince died, I think it was VH1. They showed it like several times during like the week of his death and so forth. But yeah, Parade was the soundtrack to the Under the Cherry Moon, and I think Parade kind of, at least in the record label's eyes, I think Parade kind of returned Prince a little bit of more commercial success, because apparently Around the World in a Day that was the prior album that was considered to be a commercial flop, even though the record sold 500,000 copies without a movie or any kind of promotion for like a month or two. But the album still sold 500,000 copies. I mean, I don't know. I know it sold a lot of copies its first week without a lot of promotion, which was intentional, which Prince requested. But anyway, I think Around the World in a Day is a great record. But the record didn't. That album, it wasn't Purple Rain 2. It wasn't a Purple Rain 2, so therefore the record didn't sell as many copies as Purple Rain. But I think Parade kind of sold a lot more copies than Around the World in a Day, especially since it includes one of Prince's best known songs, his number one hit, which is Kiss, which is one of his signature tracks. Everybody knows that. If you don't know any Prince song, you're gonna know that one. You're gonna know Kiss. You're gonna know Purple Rain. You're gonna know When Doves Cry, 1999, A Little Red Corvette. You're gonna know those joints. But aside from Kiss, man, I think Kiss is probably the only song on there that's kind of somewhat in the vein of maybe the Minneapolis kind of sound, Purple Rain. But Parade was a very interesting record. I would say it was somewhat avant-garde in a lot of ways. A lot of the sounds on this record was very like psychedelic, eclectic, experimental. It wasn't your typical like 80s music, man. And I think a lot of it was influenced by the movie, because I believe Under the Cherry Moon was filmed in France. He filmed that movie in France. So in Prince and the Revolution spent a lot of time out there filming the movie and such. And I think that environment and that culture really had a profound effect on Prince, and it had a profound effect on the sound and the direction that they took with that particular record. And you can hear it. You can hear it in the music. You can hear it. You can see it in the imagery. You can see it in the imagery, the way the band members are dressed and so forth. So, but I think it's a great record. I think it's a great record. Aside from the song "Kiss," man, it's just different. It's just very eclectic, and it really shows the range that Prince and the Revolution had as a band. That they weren't just one trick ponies. They could take funk music and they could blend it with pop. They could blend it with Baroque pop, avant-garde, psychedelic, whatever, classical. So many different kinds of elements are with this record, man. But definitely one of his most adventurous records, in my opinion, man. I really enjoy the album. I'm glad to have it. Had it on CD for years, and I'm glad to have the vinyl in my collection, man. But yeah, that's it for this vinyl episode, vinyl update number 5, more Prince. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm just really excited that in the past a few months, maybe year or so, I've managed to come across so much more Prince records on vinyl, man. Because I really, most of you know Prince is one of my favorite. He actually is my favorite artist of all time. And so just to have a lot of these albums on vinyl, what I'm saying, it's just exciting for me, and I'm very fortunate that I've been able to come across a lot of them. So and I'm gonna continue my hunt. I'm hoping that I could find. I already have Sign of the Times, so I'm hoping I could find Love Sexy on vinyl next, and then the Batman soundtrack. Those would be the last two from the 80s, I believe. So yeah, that would be the last two. Or if you want to include the Black Album, which I think promotional copies got out before Prince canceled it and withdrew the record. But that would probably be, if I ever found like an official like Black Album on vinyl, that would probably be really expensive because of the rarity of it. But anyways, man, I'm gonna continue my search, and I'm just blessed to have what I have and come across what I have. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you did, just do me a huge favor, hit that thumbs up and give me a like, because it does help with the channel. Also, share the video on Facebook, social media, anywhere that you think music collectors like myself or those of you who are watching would enjoy this type of content. Please share this video. Also, be sure to hit that subscribe button and tap that bell. That way you'll be notified whenever I drop new content. I want to thank everybody that's been supporting the channel, that's been watching the videos, and leaving comments, respectful comments and so forth. I truly appreciate all of you. And as always, hope everybody has a blessed day, a blessed week, and love, peace, and music. Peace out, y'all.